Welcome to the Money Over 50 podcast, brought to you by Dallas Davison and Michael Hogue from Money Over 50 Financial Advisors. This information is general in nature and does not take into account your objectives, financial situation, or needs. Therefore, you should consider whether the information is appropriate for you and your personal circumstances. If you require personal advice, please contact Money Over 50 Financial Advisors. Here are your hosts, Dallas Davison and Michael Hogue.
Welcome to Money Over 50 with Dallas and Michael. Dallas, I'm going to throw to you straight away.
Thanks, Michael. The topic that I wanted to discuss today is the idea that being directionally right is more important than precision. Now, that's probably very poor English, and it's probably not at all the best way to summarize that. But the point I'm making here is probably to give the story of what got me thinking about this. So, as some of you may know, my wife and I had another baby a few months ago now, and what happens?
The listeners want to know more than that.
Okay, so Adeline,
you had a girl,
a little girl
called
Adeline. She's a dream baby,
Yeah.
you know, all the ins and outs. So she is actually, she's ticked all the boxes and done everything right.
Yeah.
And that's what got me thinking about this was, as a second-time parent, you have a different approach to that state, those first few weeks of your baby's life, than probably that you do the first time round. And the point here, and the example was baby weight. So for anyone who, I don't know, it might be a while since you had a newborn of your own, but you might have kids who've had newborns. The one single number that the midwives and all the people, not the one single number, but most of the time the number they're tracking is that baby weight. And there's basically a healthy range of outcomes. So your baby's born, I think they're expected to lose about 10% of their weight in the first few days. And then pretty much all they're looking for is for that weight to go up. Now, which was really interesting to me the second time round, is to think the first time round, you know, they bring around the scale and your baby gets weighed and it's, 3.745 kilos. So they're weighing that baby to the gram. And you sort of get into the trap of looking at that as though, well, that must mean that every gram matters. They're using a scale that matters to a gram, therefore every gram matters. Then when you actually talk to the midwives, they go, all right, well, the baby was 3.5, a few days ago. Now it's 3.6 something. Yep, all good, tick the box, move on. And they walk out the door. And you're sort of going, well, hang on, what percentage weight gain is that and what's the healthy range? And pretty much what they're doing there is, as long as that goes up, everything's all good. And that's the point I'm making here, is not that if your super balance goes up, everything's all good, because we've actually done a podcast about saying that's not the case. So, but the point here is that being directionally right, being in the ballpark of where you need to be, is far more important than precision. So what I mean by this is people get hung up on exact things. So we've used the example where we go, on average, we use a long-term rate of return of 8% for the biggest and best companies in Australia and around the world. And people immediately go, why 8? Why not 9? Why not 7.5? And you go, to some degree, it doesn't matter. We have picked that figure based on long-term historical averages and all the rest of it. And there is obviously some thought that has gone into that.
I say we feel it's realistic yet conservative.
That's
realistic yet conservative.
So, but why not use 8.2? Why not 8.1? There is a point at which people get hung up on that. And then when we say, okay, cash is currently returning 0.3%, for example, people go, yeah, but what happens when interest rates go back up and you're getting 4% on your term deposits? The point I'm here to make is that none of that matters. It's irrelevant. It's unimportant. So the point that we are trying to make to clients as it relates to those asset classes is that one of them on average over the next 30 years is far more likely to outperform the other. So if all of your superannuation is invested in companies, it is likely to grow by more than having all of that money invested in cash. Now, I don't know what companies will return over the next 30 years. I also don't know what cash will return over the next 30 years. Both of those numbers are kind of irrelevant because there is likely, the most likely outcome is there is going to be some spread between them. All I can do with that information is make the decision now. So if it turns out over the next 30 years that companies returned 8% and cash returned 5%. Well, all I needed to know to make that decision was which one I should be invested in. I still should be invested in companies. So I guess that's the point, is like, in that case, directionally right is more important than being precise. If inflation is going to run at, we project 3% for inflation rates. Well, maybe it's going to be 2.5%. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. The point is, I have to allow for the fact that my living expenses in the 30th year of my retirement are likely to be far higher than what they are in the first year. Now, my $80,000 of income needs in year 30 might be $240,000 a year, might be $260. Doesn't matter. I mean, it does matter, but the point is, when you're looking at the decisions we're making right now, you pick a figure, you pick a thing that is most likely to give you the data that you need to make the decision now and give you the highest outcome of success. The actual precision of that is just a way, I think, to get bogged down in detail, and it's to get bogged down in a sense of more control than probably what you have. So the final example that I'll use here, with examples I think where people get bogged down in precision rather than being directionally right, is tax treatment of superannuation. So I've had so many conversations with people where we've said, the superannuation rules are that it's a tax advantage vehicle on the way in, it's a tax advantage vehicle on your earnings throughout your working life and throughout your retirement, and it's a tax advantage way to draw an income in retirement. And people will sometimes respond, yes, but what if the government changes the rules? Doesn't matter. So the current contributions tax rate is 15% for anyone earning less than $250,000 a year. If you're earning $150,000 a year, your income tax rate is 39%, your contributions tax rate is 15%. Well, what if the government raises that rate from 15% to 20%? Doesn't matter. You're still so far better off by doing that has to be the strategy that you use. If we get 10 years down the road and earnings tax rates change from 15% to 20%, doesn't matter. You're still far better off owning that money in that environment. I could go on and on with these examples, but the point I'm making is, once we have all the data that we need to work out how to best make a decision now, any more than that is really just playing office. And we're trying to gather more information to make us feel more comfortable with an inherently uncertain thing. We don't know what the tax rules will be in 30 years' time, but I can say with a fair bit of confidence that it is most likely that superannuation will be the most tax effective vehicle to own your retirement savings in. I don't know what companies will return over the next 30 years, but I know that the most likely outcome is that it will be more than cash and term deposits. I don't know what inflation will be, but I can guess that it's most likely that it will be, things will get more expensive in future rather than less expensive. These are all things that, once I've got that data, I make my decisions now. It actually doesn't matter whether the baby's gained 157 grams in the last 2 days or whether the baby's gained 158 grams. It just doesn't matter as long as that's going up.
Yeah, look, absolutely. I guess the getting bogged down on the finer details of that is trying to guarantee something that's inherently can't be guaranteed.
Yes.
Dressed up.
Yep.
In another way. In another way.
Yep.
In another way.
Yeah. It is really interesting because, we just touched on that in that podcast about that desire for certainty. The desire for certainty is the thing that causes us so much pain, because if we get attached to that thing of, righto, well, I'm going to use superannuation as the vehicle to own my retirement savings in because it's got a contributions tax rate of 15%. And then I go, there's, I can't remember the division something tax, where if you earn above $250,000, that contributions tax rate goes from 15% to 30%. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You're still paying far less
Division
tax.
293. Yes, it is.
There you go. You're paying far more in tax to take that as income to put in super. Does that change what I should have done with my income? No. Okay, then. Doesn't matter what that contributions tax rate is. It's all those sorts of things where that desire for certainty and that desire to know to 3 decimal points what that is going to be, it takes us away from the key points there. And I think that we look at this, most people can sort of understand this in the future. So what I mean by this is when we're 10 years out from retirement, most people we're talking to, they go, right, I'm here now. I've got, and we talk about that a lot of the time. Yeah. The average, I would say, is a client who's a couple who have got $700,000 in superannuation, and we've worked out that they're on track to have about 1.5 mil, and based on their income needs, they probably need somewhere like 2 million. Now, whether they actually were going to end up with 1.5 or 1.4 or 1.6, and then with these changes, whether they end up with 2 million or 2.1 or 2.2 or 1.8, doesn't matter. People can look at that and go, I've got either option A or option B. I've got option A, which is to get where I was going to be. Option B on average is going to put me $500,000 better off. I know I should just choose option B, and then we just readjust. We get there 7-8 years down the road and go, okay, well, I thought I needed this much income in retirement, and I thought my retirement savings were going to be at about this figure. It's not quite there, or I need more money than what I need. Okay, I'll work for another year, or I'll do whatever I need. You never look at that and go back 7 years and go, oh, well, I should have just done nothing because I'm only $300,000 better off, and I thought I'd be $350,000 better off. It just doesn't matter in that way. I think other than me ranting about that for the last 5 minutes, I don't know whether there's anything more constructive that I've got to add to that, Michael.
I was going to say yes, and with a full stop. And what I meant by that is, yes, I agree.
Yeah.
Full stop. Look, I don't. I think great points. Yeah. I think people do get sometimes bogged down with you said 8 and it was 7.8 or it was 8.2 and
why is that?
And really, it's the question isn't why that was the case. The question is, I thought this was guaranteed. I thought we could guarantee this more than it is, and you can't. Yep. You can't. Yep. You'll like you said, being directionally right. Yep. It's far more important than being precise, which you can't be anyway.
No, and it's interesting because I think again, when you're working with numbers and working with financial planning, the tool that you use is a spreadsheet, and it's not the right tool because we show 10-year projections and it goes in year 1 your balance goes from this to this, and then year 2 it goes from this to this, and
well, it's like democracy. It's the worst form of government ever devised, barring all others. Yes. The classic Winston Churchill quote. Look, the spreadsheet is the worst form of retirement planning. Barring, excepting for all others.
If we pull the answers out of the air, that would be worse.
And I think it probably does give the illusion of guaranteed nature. Yes, because there's
a nice, neat, smooth
line that's going up. Yeah. Really, it really should be more of a shaded area. Yeah, as opposed. I mean, we have a spreadsheet. That has a line, and you're either at the line of best fit to your retirement, and you're either above it or you below it. Yeah. Each time that we have a progress meeting with one of our clients, where you're hardly ever on that line. You're either above it or below it. Yep. Should really be shaded.
Yes, to go. This is the range of outcomes.
Because it's more of a range thing. It is more of a range thing.
And I think that the point there that you probably make, which is that the reason we have that is it's a checking mechanism for why that is the case. It's not that, okay, the line is, the actual number is above or below the line. We're always looking at it and going, why is that the case? So if we go, okay, well, your super balance is way above where we thought you'd be right now. However, that's because we've had 3 years of above average returns. Does that give us any real information? Now that we know that, should we change anything based on that? No, because we know that on average that will revert to the mean. We know that at some stage in the future we'll have a correction or we'll have a period of below average returns to average that out. If we're looking at that and going, the reason that you are above where we thought you'd be is because you've actually been able to save way more money than what we expected, and you're living on less than we thought, and you're saving way more. Does that then change the plan? Yes, it does, because we go, there's a reason why your direction has changed, and it's because of actions that you've taken. It's because of things that are actually going to change the outcomes in the future. So I think that's kind of a good point there as well, is to go, it's that precision is not, even the direction of that is only useful in as much as it tells us how do we change things now. If I'm in that shaded area and I'm doing everything right, and it just so happens that in this 6-monthly review, it's because company prices have gone down, that's fine. We just keep doing what we're doing. If it's down because you pulled $50,000 out of your retirement savings to go and buy 3 jet skis, that's probably a sign of a bigger issue that we need to discuss. So, and I think the same thing applies with, as I say, that's where that example sticks in my mind now with the midwives. Of doesn't matter. It's just got to be going up. Is everything working with that newborn baby? Is everything, the system's going to, everything else will work itself out from there. We just need to know we're heading in the right direction.
Thanks for listening.
Thank you for listening to the Money Over 50 podcast with Money Over 50 financial advisors. For more information and resources, visit the Money Over 50 website, mo50.com.au. We look forward to catching up again soon.